All right, so welcome everybody. So thank you very much for attending. So today we're doing this special stream regarding CISO Assistant, and I have Abder here, who is a co-founder of that program. Where we've talked about it a few different times. We did a couple videos on it as well for a GRC tool, and so today we're fortunate enough to have him on board here, who has put together a great presentation to break down the product, some of the features of it, and so forth, so we can get a much better understanding of how we can not only utilize this tool, but then also from an educational standpoint, they have the community edition, which I think is a great addition, a huge value to the community at large, really helping to make a more secure future for everybody here. So if you have any questions, definitely drop them in chat or otherwise, and we will bring that up on screen, and we'll have a Q&A session as well. We may take some questions throughout the presentation as well, but I'm going to go ahead and move this over to the presentation. Thank you very much, Abder.
You're most welcome, Chris. Hello, everyone. As Chris did the introduction, my name is Abder. I'm the co-founder of Intuitem, the company behind CISO Assistant or CISO Assistant. So for this session, we're gonna just shoot start ahead and start screen sharing to get some visual support. There we go. All right. So first of all, I'm pretty excited about the invitation. So thank you again, Chris, for this opportunity to communicate and exchange with the community regarding this, the way we've done CISO Assistant. This is going to be more of 101 session, going over the basics of the solution, the design principle of it. And if there's some potential, probably going to go for another session later on. So what is CISO Assistant is essentially an all-in-one platform for GRC. And few keywords that probably are worth mentioning from the beginning is this is an open source solution with a big community edition that is quite full and quite comprehensive. And we have this concept of operational GRC that is one of our foundations that I'm going to highlight and explain in a few minutes. So regarding the principles, you guys are familiar with the GRC. I'm just going over some concepts that are going to be useful for the rest of the presentation. Whenever we're talking about GRC, there is no common definitions, but essentially it's around those concepts of orientation, policies, processes, up to decision or enforcement when we're talking about governance. On the risk side, it's about identification, analysis, and assessment, or treatment and acceptance. And on the compliance side, it's how we're going to align with standards, laws, regulation, and do that through audit, management, certification, and so on. So first thing probably that comes to mind is why are we even bothering building another GRC solution? And the problem statement is pretty straightforward, is the fact that through our activity, we have in Intuitem both activities in the service side of things for consultancy and product development, which is CISO Assistant. So through the service part, we've been struggling, to put it this way, with a lot of the fragmentation around GRC tools and the documentation around that. Most companies that are starting their journey with GRC practices, they're overwhelmed with Excel sheets, as most of you probably are. And the other ones are probably struggling with 2 or 3 solutions and try to combine the information through them. And with our background of engineers, we always struggle with this like concepts that we have around GRC, which is essentially just paperwork. People associate that with very high efforts, low value activity, unfortunately. And the fact is that most operational security people are taking GRC as like low, kind of low. And on the other side, GRC people think of those operational guys as geeks. They don't even know why they're doing things, and the information is kind of lost between the two. And both of them are required actually to build a sustainable posture. One also of the other issues that we've been faced with is the lack of flexibility or customization on the existing tools, or the deployment mode. Either it's only on SaaS, which is not suitable like for government scopes, or it's only on premises, which is not that good for like small companies that don't want to bother with the installation and setup. And it comes with very opinionated approaches, sort of speak, that like puts people in specific boxes instead of like giving them the tools to drive their cybersecurity program as they wish. Another issue that we're often faced with is the lack of automation and integration with the existing ecosystem, and all of that on top of high cost solutions and vendor lock-in. As long as sooner that you start like putting data on that application, you're locked in, and you need to keep feeding that application. Whenever you decide to move to something else, you start over, and it's just like traumatic situation for everyone. So everything that I'm sharing here is based on our experience, but also the interaction that we have with a lot of cybersecurity practitioners over the world. And through that, we came up with this approach for CISO Assistant, which is the kind of the unflashy things around CISO Assistant, is that we're not looking for the blow and whistles. We're looking for how can we streamline, how can we simplify the practices of GRC instead of revolutionizing and just making it too blingy, so to speak. So this is something that you will notice across the presentation. And one important aspect to fix the issue of fragmentation is try to get to this one-stop shop approach to centralize everything and avoid this context switching. Because whenever you're switching between 2 or 3 tools, or you need to kind of combine informations between them, you tend to just add extra overhead for those low value tasks. And this is the kind of things we want to avoid. And one interesting concept that we came up with is the smart decoupling of GRC and operational security, because both need to coexist, but they coexist in different plans, and we need to create smart links to be able to reuse them. So we're going to have in a minute a video to explain this concept. But I should have started actually with our foundational pillar, so to speak, which is the fact that we are open source and community first solution. It's part of our mission statement as a company, and as we are passionate about what we're doing, we wanted also to create a solution where everybody actually can afford to build a cybersecurity program without ruining themselves, and everyone should be able to afford the basics for free. And this is why we came up with this open source community edition that is like pretty much 90% of the features are there, if not more. And we kept just small features that are specific to large companies on the pro plan. Some of the concepts that were part of our design is the fact that everything is based on an API. This is very fundamental for automation, as I mentioned previously. And this API is an enabler for a lot of automation, either directly or through the CLI that we released a few weeks back. Everything is in open format, which also gives you the flexibility to customize a lot of objects in CISO Assistant. But most of all is about data portability. Data portability comes also in 2 ways: either easing the migration from existing tools or from Excel sheets, to be blunt about that. And whenever you're like fed up and you don't enjoy the application for some reason, you can still leverage everything you've done on CISO Assistant and just export it in CSVs or Excel sheets or whatever to reuse it somewhere else. Some of the aspects also that we're going to illustrate is about progressive inputs, because we don't want people to be overwhelmed with a lot of forms that don't make sense at the beginning, because sometimes you don't have all the answers from day one, but you go incrementally and you'll see that through the solutions. And to illustrate even more this concept of operational security or operational GRC is that we try to bring everything each time to the action plan. What we mean by this is that the compliance lives its life around how are we aligned with a standard, but what matters behind that is what are the actions that we're driving to strengthen our security posture and secure our environment. And this is actually what matters, is the action plan, and both can coexist. So before I go a bit deeper in this part, let me just share this small illustration that was kind of an inspiring point for us. This is a loose interpretation of another diagram from the ANSI, the French authority, which is it's like our NIST, so to speak, in France. They have this approach called the ABS RM, and essentially beyond the scope of risk management that comes with that approach, there's a simple but very powerful idea, is that whenever you want to build a cybersecurity program, don't go with exotic checklists, don't reinvent the wheel, just start with basic hygiene. The basic hygiene here stands for any framework out there and on the industry. There are a lot of brilliant people who created solid frameworks. You can go with the NIST, you can go with ISO, you can go with a lot of standard and materials out there. Just don't reinvent the wheel and don't start on your own, and try to match that framework as basic hygiene for your baseline. On top of that, you're probably going to have some regulation or standards depending on the location you're operating on or the industry. If you're like operating in Europe, you're going to probably have something like the GDPR. If you're in finance, probably could have something like PCI DSS, NYDFS, or maybe something more specific to your industry. And once you finish those baselines, they will probably cover 80% of what needs to be done on your cybersecurity fundamentals. And then you can go on top of that to what is specific to your organization or your product or your environment. And this, you're going to do it through risk assessment, which will be a complementary approach to that. So this is something that we try to use. And this is why CISO Assistant has this duality where we work in both on compliance and the risk assessment, and both converge to give you those pillars of GRC. So I mentioned the coupling concept. So let me illustrate that with a small short video here. So essentially, to bring it down, whenever you're doing compliance, it's about trying to get the compliance status of a set of requirements, right? So regardless of the framework, at the end of the day, they're just structured in chapters, sections, and what matters is that you have a list of requirements that you're gonna try to comply with. And for this, we have this approach of a recommendation engine inside the Assistant that will bring you this reference catalog of controls, so that you don't need to reinvent the wheel. You're gonna just like pick them out of the catalog, and and based on this catalog, you will start creating the instances of those controls, and those will be your applied controls. So essentially, those applied controls will be the foundation of your action plan, and this is your cybersecurity program, because those are the actions that will strengthen your company, that will protect it on all the layers that you are familiar with in cybersecurity. So the idea of decoupling is that instead of having all those items living on the audit, they're just linked to the action plan, so that whenever you need to collect, let's say, evidences to show your level of compliance, you will not do that on the audit on itself, but you're going to do it on your action plan. And it might sound like too simplistic maybe, or too obvious, but it's actually why we made it this way, because we're trying just to bring back things to what makes sense in the most straightforward way. And what's too quick here. What's interesting about this is that once you come to this position, is that now the evidences will live with your action plan. And whenever you start, let's say, a revision of your audit, you can leverage the existing links automatically. And CISO Assistant is smart enough to capture everything and just transition all those information to the next audit, or even more, if you start an audit or a different framework, or if you use the mapping feature of CISO Assistant, you can reuse everything that you've done there, which is pretty awesome to leverage everything that you've done so far. I'm looking at the time. We're right on. So let me just highlight the most important features before we dive into the demo. First of all, as I mentioned, it's an open source solution, and the open source part, it's not only about the source being available, but it also comes with the community edition that is free. So you can use it as long as that you're compliant with the AGPL v3 license. One of the main components is about audit and compliance management. We have more than 60 frameworks included, covering a lot of standards in the US, in Canada, in North Korea, in France, Belgium, Latin America, and so many other countries that are contributing to that library. I think we're probably hitting even 70 with about 9 or 10 frameworks from the community as well. So yeah, a big library, and probably the biggest one on the market right now, thanks to the community that is pushing that. The solution allows you also to go formal in your audit approach by collecting evidences. It provides you with auto mapping features so that whenever you do an audit, you can pivot to another one without reinventing the wheel and starting over. You have this module for risk assessment that is essentially inspired by the ISO 275, but it's pretty agnostic actually to the approach, if we're being honest. You're going to have a recommendation engine that allow you to pick from the catalog some controls to do your compliance, and a lot of capabilities around action, plan tracking, and prioritization that are also backed up by this module that we call an X-ray for automated quality checks. Some other features that are also worth mentioning is the fact that we're compatible with a custom framework. So basically, if you have an Excel sheet of your own checklist that you've done for your organization or your company, you can run our toolbox to convert it to a CISO Assistant format and pick it up and use it right away. You can collect maturity and scoring for frameworks that are compatible with that. Either they're using some form of CMMI model for scales, or even you can define your own. The application has been translated in plus 12 language, and I think we're probably gonna hit 14 language by next week. There's a lot of insights, dashboards, and analytics so that you can value and get some valuable action and actionable items out of everything that you've been put in there. And the API and the CLI are quite flexible to allow multiple sorts of automations. Some of the recent features that we're quite proud of actually is around the TPRM, third-party risk management, so that now you can even converge or even your questionnaire. If you're doing some vendor assessment, you can capture that information directly on CISO Assistant, so you're not like juggling with Excel sheet around that. You're free to import and export data as you see fit. You have airbags to have a collaborative approach, SSO and MFA, and all of that. You can either have it on SaaS or on premises. I'm probably going to emphasize the fact that the on-premises one is mostly for companies or organizations that are more, they don't want something like a SaaS that is hosted in Europe or something, or it's part of their regulation framework that they want to own and host their data. The on-premises is perfect for that. So I'm going to transition probably into a quick demo. Chris, are we still on time? Yeah, perfect. Thank you. All right. So I think the first thing here is how can we get started? So the easiest thing to get started is you go to our GitHub, and right there, oops, why am I getting there? If you go to GitHub to our repo, you have just 2 lines here to get started. You clone the repo and you run the script. The script essentially will trigger Docker Compose. So the only prerequisite that you have here is to have Docker pre-installed. Once you have that, it's pretty much straightforward. You go to the repo that you just cloned or downloaded, and you do the Docker Compose stage. it will download the images and prepare it in your behalf. Here, I already done that, so I'm going to skip that step. It's also worth mentioning that if you have like Kubernetes clusters, either local ones or if you have it remotely, you can also install it with Helm charts. This is something that we released about a month now. And last but not least, you also have free trials for the SaaS version. You just click on the link and you have about 45 days, I guess, of free trial if you don't want to bother with the installation there. Yeah, we're going to share the link in a moment on the chat. So once you do that, you will get the application right way. Okay, let me just go back here. So actually, I'm showcasing even the recent addition where we just included the TOTP for MFA for free, even on the community edition. So I'm going to even test it live with you guys. There we go. So now that you're signed in, the first thing that you come with is the analytics part. It got a lot of information helping you get an overview of everything that you've put there. I'm gonna come back to this in a moment, but essentially it's about the status of your controls, of your audits, how your controls are split around the NIST functions, the compliance progress, and an overview of your risk posture here. Then when we move in forward, we're going to have a section about like your own assignments, because like I said, it's a collaborative solution so that you can have a team that are splitting their work around like control implementation or audit follow-ups or everything. So you can split the work and have your own dashboards for everything that is assigned to you. On the organization part, it's essentially how you're going to structure the usage of the solution. What we mean by domain and project is essentially the hierarchy that you want to have in place. And this hierarchy, it's worth mentioning that it's to isolate the objects that either there are controls, audit, risk assessment, or whatever through the airbag. And you can also have some filtering capabilities on analytics based on those domains. So the easiest way to get started is just to create a domain. Let's call it study GRC. And once I have this, I am going to just create a project. Let's call it general here. And on this one, we're going to start doing an audit, for instance. So this is like the fastest way to get started. Then on the user part, you can declare the users and assign them the roles. Keep in mind that the roles will be automatically created once you create a domain, and you're going to have different permission sets for those roles. It's also worth mentioning here that, again, the domains are also some the discriminatory filter around the airbag. And finally, you can declare also your asset that can be useful for your risk assessment. Now, coming to the catalog part, this is something that I mentioned earlier about the reusability of everything you're doing. So first thing first is that you want to import frameworks from the library. So the library is pretty heavy with a lot of objects ranging from frameworks, controls, mapping, risk matrix, catalog of threats, and so on. And let's pick some for the sake of this one. Yeah, let's go here. Yeah, I was talking with someone about FedRAMP earlier. Let's bring FedRAMP, and let's bring CMMC. Yeah, those are going to be cool for our use case. On the threats, here I already imported the meter attack. I'm a big fan of the meter attack for a lot of reasons, but also because it's quite comprehensive for the attack vectors. I just imported right before. You can declare your own controls as well, or import the ones that are recommended by us. On the mapping feature, it's essentially a capability that will allow you to migrate or transition from one assessment to another automatically based on the OLER standard, where program from the NIST. More on this later on. And the risk matrices that you can also customize. Here, I'm just picking a simple one, 5x5. You can go nuts and create your own, and you can customize up to the color of the cells if you want. On the operational part, it's what matters. And on this one, this is where you're going to find your controls. Those are the actions that are the foundation of your treatment plan. And this is what you'll be linking to your audits later on. You can find an overview, but through a calendar view. And then you have the X-ray module, which will do kind of automated checks for common mistakes or errors, either on your audit or your risk assessments. On the governance side, like obviously you're going to have your policies, you can import your libraries, and you can go even up to the workflow management around risk acceptance that are supported there. On the risk part, we will find the risk assessment, scenarios. If you're struggling with scoring something, you will find some assistant there to help you score your vulnerability, your risk scenarios, and you can even map them to some vulnerabilities if you want to go that accurate. But let's start with, I promised at the beginning, with the audits. We're gonna go straight ahead and starts with one. Which one should we pick, guys? Let's pick something like CMFC. Yeah, let's go with CMC review. I'm going to just assign it to the study GRC. Where is it? There we go. One cool stuff here that we've added is the fact that we can also combine the implementation group. The implementation group is kind of concept that we picked from the CIS control. And it's essentially about how you can have this cumulative approach of having multiple levels within your framework. So here I'm going to just pick level 1 to get, let's not filter it right now. I'm going to assign it to myself, and I'm going to put some time and information, and that should be enough. I click, I'll be redirected, and there you go. All the criteria are being imported, and you see that the tree structure of the CMMC has been respected. Now, I see that if I'm trying to address those 110 requirements, probably I will not succeed from step 1. I'm going to just go back here and filter it just only to level 1. Here, automatically it's getting filtered to the essential items of level 1. And one cool feature that we added recently is this flash mode. Flash mode essentially will get you the audits filtered as flashcard mode, so that if you just trying to get the high level idea about where you're standing around those criteria, you can just go fast here with the assessment in flashcard mode, and you can just go next, can just pick those information. Obviously, this is not accurate, but it's pretty neat just to capture the high level status of your compliance, but by just going quickly like this. Recently, we added also the key shortcuts here. I'm just hitting the Vim motion keys to go fast. There we go, and we're fine. And you can capture everything here on your first posture. Like I said, this is not pretty accurate. Now that I kind of got a first feeling about where I stand regarding my compliance, I can go further and dive in each requirement. So on each requirement, you see that we kept also the nuances of the CMMC about those sub questions that you can have there, so you can pick them up and you have everything in one place. And now I can say, okay, so I'm partially compliant, sure, but how am I partially compliant? So here I'm going to start doing the decoupling that I mentioned earlier by linking everything here to my controls. I'm going to just pick something randomly for the sake of the demo here. Maybe did I put something else? Let's say CISD. Yeah, okay, incident response, just for the sake of this. And whenever I have more information, I can just come back and enrich those information about their status. And the last part probably will be, once I actually enabled my items, I can go a bit further, and I'm going to start collecting evidences And for this one, it's pretty straightforward. You go to the control, and on the control, you just start attaching. A lot of documents are supported, but the easy one here, I'm going to just like pick a screenshot very quickly as we support in this. You can just literally paste the screenshot from your clipboard. You don't need even to save it as a file, and it will automatically be captured by CISO Assistant as part of your evidence catalog. So if I go back now to my CMMC review, I will find everything attached there. And if I'm done with this, I can just share the report, or if I want to flip the page, so to speak, and focus only on the operational part, I just click here on the action plan. And actually, I'm going to have all my items categorized based on their status, so that I'm staying actually on my audits, but through an operational view. So this way, you keep moving in good harmony between the compliance world and the operational world, while leveraging the advantage of each one. Now, some of the cool features that are worth mentioning is the export capabilities. I can just dump everything as CSV, either for the audit or just pick the action plan as PDF. But the most interesting one is this zip export. For instance, you guys probably also are familiar with CMMC. It's kind of close to the ISO 27, where you need actually an auditor, external auditor, just reviewing each items and reviewing the evidences that those have been done. So this could be a great enabler just to capture those items. So I'm just uncompressing my zip file, and look what it generated. We have an HTML that is actually already formatting everything for us. And it's not only there, it's capturing all the answers and the controls and even the evidences that are inlined there. So you can just like send the zip instead of trying to repackage and doing your Word document and picking everything back and patch everything up again. So yeah, that's a good part of the audit. Now trying to make it within time. Again, this is like just a big long teaser to see the extent of the features. I'm going to just like go very quickly to the risk part, which is a complementary part of the audit. Remember, guys, the steps that we mentioned earlier. Now that we've built our foundations, we can go beyond the baseline. We can go to something like regulation, which will be the second step, and then we can hit the risk assessment part. On the risk assessment, it's pretty straightforward. You create a risk analysis, and all the formatting will be done on your behalf. You see all those pretty matrices that will be drawn for you, so you can focus on what matters, which is your brain juice that need to be spent on actually making sense of your organization context, trying to evaluate those threats, debating those with the management, with your colleagues, and trying to drive actions instead of just spending time on the paperwork. So you just trust the solution with that. So to start the risk scenarios, you just pick something from the catalog. If you're lacking some inspiration, let's go with, I don't know, like legal sanctions, missed CPA, for instance. Here, you're just collecting the items, and to illustrate the progressive input that I mentioned, you've seen here that I'm not collecting too much information, but once I'm mature enough on my analysis, I can just go back and start enriching those data progressively. I can start picking the threats that are associated to that. If I want to map it to specific assets, if I want to map it to specific vulnerability, I can just add extra information, describe where I stand today, where I'm going to be standing tomorrow once I have added extra controls, and all those items will help me establish a scoring. Right now, it's the qualitative approach that most of you are familiar with. And we're working also on a quantitative approach for the beginning of next year. Once you get this information, you see that the matrices will be updated on your behalf, and you'll get everything sorted out here. Again, to keep the same symmetry around the alignment between the compliance or GRC word and the operational word, I can flip the page again here and focus. Yeah, I'm still on the same word, but just like looking to the same information, but through a different perspective, which is the operational one. And we're pretty symmetric all the way along on those aspects. All right. Yeah, I'm looking at the time. We're probably going to need to rush things up. One thing that's still probably worth mentioning here is that everything that you've done on the audit can be leveraged again on the controls. And this is the other part of the decoupling, so that everything that you spend time like implementing, I don't know, like some DTNA solution, or you spend time writing documentation, or you implemented whatever solution on your CI/CD to secure your software factory. Everything is boiled down to the catalog, and you can pick it up and link it to the control. So this time you are not retyping everything from scratch, and those links will be managed by CISO Assistant on your behalf. So for instance, this one. Now, I'm going to just maybe showcase some of the recent additions that are quite powerful for the compliance part. And there we go. With this cool feature about the mapping, we added also the frameworks mapping explorer. So essentially, this will show you what happens behind the curtain about the automated mapping. So let me illustrate this in an example, because we're quite proud actually of this achievement. So let's say that you've spent your last year working on your CSF 1.1 compliance. You've done everything, and then the NIST came up with 2.0. Sad for you, it's not perfectly aligned, because it's not just like a minor update. They restructured the whole framework. So you don't want to bother redoing everything. So you're going to just come here and apply a mapping. So let's say that here, I'm going to create a projection to my CSF 2.0, and there we go. And that should be, I guess, yeah, that should be fine. We just like scope it. And voila, you've seen that I moved automatically to CSS 2.0. Probably some of you who are familiar with this notice that the govern component just appeared here. And notice how the whole compliance information has traveled automatically, and even the statuses of everything have been collected automatically from the previous one. So this is a quite powerful feature. And what's actually happening behind the curtain is we have those graphs that have been implemented, and those graphs actually are based on the crosswalks provided as part of the OLER, and we are using that vocabulary actually to generate the links. Either they're partial or one-to-one, and we are generating automatically the compliance status for that. So yeah, this is like a cool recent addition, and we're looking forward to the feedback from the community, how they're gonna use this feature, and how can we make it even go a bit further. Last thing probably worth mentioning, as I'm looking at the time, to make some room for questions, we came up with this filter just to, you can focus on what is on your own scope. Here, every time that you're assigning either control, you're following up an audit, you're reviewing the audit, you've been assigned or owning a risk, you'll get this nice filter that will just focus on what's on your scope. And it will also detect some inconsistencies or incoherence. In case some controls are on hold or deprecated, you'll get these warnings if the ETA exceeded and so on. Plus, you get your Apple Watch rings as well to keep you honest about the progress of your actions. With this, I think I'm right on time, Chris, right? So you can make some room for questions. There's still a lot of features. I probably just uncovered 20 or 25% of all the features here, just to give you a teaser to get you started. You can go straight ahead to the Git repo and follow the instructions, or subscribe for the free trial of the SaaS version if you want the fully managed by us. And yeah, Chris, back to you.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and swap the screen here well, I'll just go ahead and drop the link for now. But so this GitHub page has a lot of the information there. And then I'm going to drop a couple other links too, because there's also a roadmap. So the second link here is the roadmap for the project. And then also I'm going to drop the link to their Discord. So they have an awesome Discord for support and help along the way. But yeah, there are so many different features built into this. The diagram, their help docs is really useful for it as well. So definitely join that Discord section too. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull the first question up here. Let's see.
Yeah, there's so many messages. Maybe I lost track. I need your help.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So this first one right here. So we can import a control list via CSV. Also, what about utilizing the upload to respond to the controls as well? Which identifier would we be using? Probably the control ID or the name.
Correct.
For import.
So yeah, the identification is the name is essentially you're correct. So how can you import control list via CSV? So this is a good transition actually to showcase the CLI. So for this, you just go to the repo. There are two interesting folders, maybe that are not very advertised, like the application. The one on the CLI and the one on tools. On the CLI, what you're gonna find is Clicker. Clicker is our CLI, as the name suggests. So I'm going to just source my environment here. First thing you want to do is to authenticate. You're going to just fill the file there, and you just go there, run the help, and you see there are some of the feature that were progressively actually important. One of them is important controls. And as a matter of fact, if I'm just like showing sample here, I think I have one, right? There we go. Yeah, sample controls. Let's pick this one, and we're gonna use again Clicker to do that. Yep. Import controls.
For all of you guys not familiar with the command line or otherwise too, I did drop the link to the help doc related to this as well.
And thank you. So yeah, for instance, if I have already some set of controls, I want to pick all their status and just bring everything at once to CISO Assistant. You literally just need to bring it as a CSV. So we just need something structured, and we can digest it and convert it to CISO Assistant. So let's look for this one, DLP. I have not imported before. So let's see if it's there. There we go. You can bring your data there. I think there's a third part of your question. Okay, it just disappeared. But I hope that yeah, the upload. What's about she doesn't upload to response to the control as well? Yeah, you can definitely. If you have the information on the controls, you can pick their status automatically, or you can still also use the API to do that. As a matter of fact, we've helped one of our customers who has this big folder of a lot of Excel sheets where they already captured some compliance information. So essentially what we've done is we used, I think it's still there. So essentially we just use the API and we iterate through the API and we filled everything. So in like 10 lines, you can automate this, and we have a lot of samples on our repo to get you started.
Yeah, and definitely the support that's especially in the Discord, and it's the open source options there. And then we have another one here too. Let me see. So CISO Assistant supports AppSec. Please share quickly, what do you mean by supports AppSec?
Right. So we support AppSec as in the frameworks that are useful for the AppSec part. So one thing that is useful also to have a coherent cybersecurity posture is that when you're doing application security, you have the layers of securing your software factory, the DevSecOps things, where you have tools, you have practices, but you can also have a GRC component of your AppSec. One of them is the infamous, we have two famous ones, I think the ASVS one from the OWASP, and there's the SSDF from the NIST. I think, yeah, they're pretty similar, but those are great materials for application security foundation so that you are not reinventing the wheel. Again, what I mentioned earlier, and you can use those best practices to have good baseline for your software security. So this is what we mean by the application security in GRC world.
Yeah, and that's one of the
Obviously,
things I was
you can
actually looking
automate
at. So,
things.
oh, awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like I was saying, obviously, whenever you start doing those implementation on the SecOps part, you can pick some items from your CI/CD, for instance, pipelines, and fill some information automatically on those frameworks.
We have another question here. So, great, powerful tool. Also, does it support customization? And if I may ask further, if yes, then does the tool have a no-code customization option?
Right. So the customization capabilities that we've shown so far are essentially around the frameworks or the data imports. And one of the customization that is mostly used, yes, I'm not going to say no code, but it's very, very low code regarding the checklist. That if you, let's say you have your own checklist or you have your own catalog for reference control, or you want to customize your risk matrix, for instance, all of those, you have a low code approach where in this tool folder, you have the script, essentially. Where is it? All right. And you can just hit convert. And this module, what will take as an input as an Excel sheet. So the effort on your side will be to structure the information as an Excel sheet. And again, there's a lot of samples because we've done them for multiple frameworks, multiple approaches, and you convert that with this tool. So it's not really no code, but it's very low code approach there.
Yeah, and then there's a couple other, just not really direct questions, but just thinking for keeping it open source and accessible. That's one of the biggest things that I see is that you don't see that kind of stuff nowadays. And I think that's a huge thing for the community, especially from that educational standpoint, but for small and medium businesses that can't afford to go out and get these tools. It provides them something to get to that point for best practice.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure actually to hear that because it's part of our commitment, but it's also part of our DNA as a company. It's something that we wanted to do. We kind of doubted even ourselves when we start going that road. Are we gonna make a business out of this? Is it maybe too crazy, maybe too optimistic? But on the long run, we actually have only like amazing surprises because the community was like almost waiting for this, and the vibes and the encouragement that we are getting from customers and users all over the world. I think we are about deployed in 52 countries. I would have never actually imagined people from Guatemala reaching out to us and explaining their privacy frameworks. This is just like amazing because I would never Google that, and just teaching us about what they're doing. We have people in Australia, people in lot of places around Asia, reaching out, teaching us about what they're doing, learning from each other. And I think this is the best win-win situation where they're helping us grow in the solution. They're becoming customers when they see the value, and everything is being done in good vibe mode. So yeah.
Yeah, and let me see. So yeah, and then also, especially with all the different features, obviously there was a lot of time that's been put and a lot of thought put into this tool as well. You can see with all the different features that you do have available. Yeah, I think that definitely talks for itself there. So AV Showtime threw that in. And then
Yeah,
I wanted to,
absolutely.
was there anything else that you wanted to add there? I was going to go ahead and show some of the pages here as well.
Yeah, one thing that actually come quite often is why we keep insisting on this operational security side of things. It's because we went through that, and we want actually people to just break up with that vision or that idea about GRC just being for paperwork. It can be actually a very interesting pillar for cybersecurity. I was looking for an analogy. I was talking to a friend earlier about this, and essentially it's like you can do GRC just to get your compliance, but it's just sad and silly because it's like you're subscribing or paying up a gym membership, and you're going there just to sign up the sign-in sheet. There's no point of that. If you're doing GRC, just go all the way and use it as an enabler to structure and strengthen your cybersecurity program. And this is why what we're trying to do is to make it accessible, make it simpler, and make it operational as much as possible so that you can leverage that and use it to drive your program. So yeah, we're pretty excited about this approach, and we're very glad about the way the community is receiving that.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, and I wanted to go through and just share some of these pages here. So I dropped this again for the GitHub page. You could see right here towards the bottom, you'll see all the different important links for the roadmap, the docs, the Discord, the different frameworks that are included. So definitely check that portion out. This next one goes to the docs. And the other big thing to mention too is that this is an ongoing project. So it's just like you guys just recently pushed more stuff into the community edition as well, and you're constantly improving. That's one of the parts that I wanted to show, like on this roadmap here. So there's this roadmap, and you can go through here and see, for the core and the pro edition, and everything that's on the roadmap and that's coming up. Which there's some pretty important things like import assets from Excel, OS Cal support. So there's some pretty interesting things that are coming up still too. So it's constantly evolving product as well. I definitely recommend to take a look at that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like I said, for the roadmap, we are driven by what the customers are looking for. That's why I said at the beginning, it's not about the fancy things, it's about the use cases. What are the pain points? What are GRC practitioners are struggling with? And we try to optimize that. If we're cutting the time spent on some tasks from 5 minutes to 30 seconds, perfect. If we can reduce the complexity of mapping from a week to an hour, even great. So we're not looking for something fancy, and that's why the roadmap is keep improving thanks to the community that is actually keeping us honest and is driving our development. So we're counting on you guys to jump into Discord or the GitHub and contribute to that as well.
Perfect. Yeah, and also I'm dropping the Discord again here. So there's the link to the Discord. Thank you very much for attending, V-Dubs. All right, just looking over the messages here real quick. But one of the other sections that I wanted to pull up here too, just because I really love this product. I think it's a great addition to the community. But you can use that community edition, self-hosted. There's different support for that. The community support, the Discord, the GitHub, and so forth. The docs are great. However, especially if you're looking at the business part, I did want to personally throw it out here that they do have these the pricing as well. And so, like, just for one contributor with 100 readers included, that comes out to about $42 monthly, which if you look at other comparisons and so forth, definitely worth taking a look at. And there's actually somebody I just recently spoke to a few days ago who is looking for a small product. They have their own consulting firm of only 3 or 4 different clients, and they've chosen to go with CISO Assistant just because of not only the pricing, but the features included. It just makes it way easier. So I want to throw that out there as well.
Yeah, thank you for that. I see, Abe is asking what inspired the initial development. So fun fact about this is initially I actually developed it to myself. I was kind of being selfish about this one, where I struggled in one of my missions in financial activities. I came from more engineering background, and I struggled to interact with GRC people there. So I tried to create some interaction with them in an optimal way. I didn't succeed. So at some point, I was just overwhelmed with Excel sheets. And it happened during COVID, where I went to this hermit mode where I cut myself for about 10 days or 2 weeks and created the first application. It was for me actually just to stop using Excel sheets. Back then it was called OpenGRC. That was the name. I was not that inspired back then. And I was lucky that I was surrounded by brilliant people who gave me interesting feedback. We were able actually to implement it and use it with that customer for their scope. And the rest is history. It just started growing progressively around the risk assessment, then to the audit part, then to the automation, and so on, thanks to the community. So yeah, the story is not that original because I was just being selfish back then. But then again, it became an actual product by the company, and we have a vibrant community that has been owning the solution from that point.
All right. And then were there any other questions or anything else that anybody had? If it's okay with you, I can also drop your LinkedIn. I believe CISO Assistant has a LinkedIn as well, or the company. Let me pull that up. So there's also the LinkedIn page there too. Perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for your time today. I appreciate it. I think it was a great overview there, and it really gets the name out there a little bit more so people can play around with it.
Sure. Again, sorry if I butchered some of the information there. I was just like trying to squeeze in as much information as possible for this 101 session. As we talked with Chris, if the community is interested into like more team-driven sessions, we can pick some time to go over like the mapping, because we can go over like for an hour just on the mapping topic, because there's so many activities there. We can go over the automation. It will depend on you guys. If it's something that you are interested in, just we can organize that with Chris for another session.
Yeah, definitely go ahead and do the GRC Mafia raid into their Discord, and we'll figure that the following sections out. And a lot of familiar faces in the chat. Thank you all for attending. I'm going to go ahead and move this over a little bit. So we are having our primary meeting tonight as well. So tonight at 6 p.m. Central, we are going over a risk identification activity and open discussions. And then we have a couple speakers coming up in the following weeks. But yeah, thank you again very much for your time. And I'll go ahead and stay here for a moment just to see if anybody else has anything. Let's see. And if anybody needs any of those other links, I will have those in the Discord as well. Let me go ahead and drop that as well. Perfect. All right. Thank you very much for your time. I'm going to go ahead and end it here. I'll see you guys later tonight.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.